Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest is Braydon Sinclair. Braydon is the creator of Firefly Music Festival, a huge open-air festival that runs each year here in rural Alberta to raise funds for thyroid cancer. Braydon also owns and operates 387 Entertainment, a small but excellent production company that handles booking, promotion, large or small private or commercial event planning, and now studio recording. I've run more than a few shows through Braydon and 387 now, and I've even had the privilege of performing at the Firefly Festival, and I gotta say, I'm always blown away by how organized and well-run Braydon's events are. I've even referred several other artists to his services for tour dates, and I always hear similar stories back about how great a job he does, and how well looked after people feel after they book with him. So we talked about all manner of things related to his business, and the music industry in general from his perspective as a talent buyer and a festival manager, as well as some of the challenges that he faces and has to overcome when he's creating such a large event. It's pretty interesting. Just make sure you listen all the way through. There's a lot of good information in this one. So without further ado, please welcome Braydon Sinclair. Mr. Braydon Sinclair, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you, John?
Pretty good, pretty good. You're a tough man to get a hold of.
Yeah, it's hard to get a hold of me sometimes. Been pretty busy this year.
Actually, I should not say that. You're not tough to get a hold of. You're tough to pin down. Tough to get in the room.
Yeah, you got to find me at the right place, right time, for sure.
That's right. We've been trying for a couple of weeks now to get you on here.
Yeah.
And so finally.
Yeah, we finally did it.
Made it work, yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
So is it, I wanted to ask you about, because you do the Firefly Festival.
Yep.
Every year. What goes into planning an event like that?
A lot of work, a lot of help, and
what's the first thing you start with? Like, because I know there's so many different avenues.
I really just, the first thing I start with is picking a date. Get a date picked out and a venue, because you really can't do anything without a venue.
Right.
And I've had a lot of festivals where venues drop out and stuff too.
Right.
So you want to get all that locked down, and once that's locked down, I start looking at time frames of how many artists we want and stuff like that. And then you're going to get an idea how much money it's going to cost you to run.
Right.
And then once you're at that point, you just start looking for sponsors and donations, because we are a charity festival. So
right.
We simply rely on sponsors.
So is it 100% not profit for you then?
100%, yeah.
Right.
It's we all volunteer our time, anyone that puts any effort into helping this festival run, and it's all for Thyroid Cancer Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Same charity every year, right?
Same charity, yeah.
Right. Okay, I was pretty sure, but I don't want to say one thing when it's another thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's always been the same charity.
Right.
Yeah.
Put out misinformation or whatever. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. Like, so you'll start out with a date, and then because I know you've done outdoor, and I know you've done indoor.
We actually started Firefly outdoors,
Right.
and the whole idea was Fireflies to be acoustic, and we had actually 3 stages built on hay bales throughout
Right.
the trails in Millet.
Oh, cool.
And we just had acoustic people play on those.
Yeah.
And our first year was outside, and we had the beer gardens and everything. We couldn't believe the turnout. And then we tried to do it outside the next year, and we got rained out. And then we moved inside, and it kind of just stuck inside ever since.
Yeah.
But for
you deal with a lot of variables outside that.
yeah, there were so many years where we were 3 days away, and our venue's right flooded out.
Right.
So then you're scrambling to find a new place. And since we're in Millet, it's always been the arena. So that's why we've been indoors, but that's why for 2020 we want to go back to the roots and bring it back outdoors.
So that's the plan this year. Then you're gonna be back outdoors.
It's going back outdoors.
Outdoors. And so I imagine you've seen some degree of upgrade when it comes to like equipment and obviously stage size and
For sure.
big acts and stuff like that. So. How long ago was it that you did it outside again? Because I know last year was indoors.
Don't quote me, but I think 2013 was our first year.
Okay, so and it's been indoors from there.
Pretty much, yeah.
So now, because now it's a much bigger thing, right?
It's much bigger, yeah.
Right. So, like the amount of equipment that you're going to have, and that being outdoors, the scale and the cost of being an outdoor festival, especially from being an indoor festival last year, that's got to be a big.
Yeah, it pretty
change.
much doubles our operating costs, because you have to worry about things you never thought of before, like outhouses for everybody,
Sure.
fencing for the areas, way more security. And since we want to go camping, now we got to worry about all the factors that are around
Right, because it's going to be a
too.
multi-day thing, right?
Yeah, it's only posted as a 3-day festival right now, but we are going to have a Thursday pre-party, so it will be a 4-day festival.
Wow.
So
Okay.
making it worthwhile.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is it? Do you do so because it's a charity event? It's ticket sales, right?
Yes.
Right.
Last year was actually the first Firefly, last year was the first Firefly that was ever ticketed. Up until then, it was always free. And last year, we decided to book big headliners, and we made it a ticketed event.
Right.
And it didn't work too well for us. So
Well, it's a hard transition to make, right?
yeah, everyone
Like-
expects a free festival, and now you're asking for money.
Yeah.
So it was a shot we took, And so we're just going to keep trying different angles until we find exactly what Firefly needs to be.
What sticks, eh?
And I think this year, or 2020, sorry, is going to be what it is. Because it's going to be the outdoor 4-day festival.
Okay.
And we like sticking to keeping local artists. That's the big thing of festival, or Firefly Festival, is your time to shine. That was always our slogan when we first started.
Right.
So we're going to have probably upwards of 40, 50 local artists play.
Okay. So so last year you did book a bigger act. I think you had Doc Walker,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
If you're going to stick more with local artists and stuff, that's totally great. Is there going to be a bigger headliner?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be headliners for each of the main days of the festival.
Okay, so it'll be like a couple of bigger artists.
Yes.
And then like the rest will all be more local, more.
Yeah.
That's really cool because a lot of the local artists will actually, then they get the chance, all of them, to play on a bill next to a bigger name.
Yeah, and on a festival stage, right? That's always something I always kind of promoted for these local bands. Is you're not just playing on a little bar stage, you're playing on a full-scale production festival stage. So,
see that like especially when I started, that was something that I always thought was cool. Was even that like, and it is kind of true and it's kind of not, because it's like you're not sharing the stage with them necessarily, right?
Yeah.
But you get your name on the poster with a big act. And
for sure, yeah.
For a new artist, especially somebody who's in their first year or two, that's a pretty big deal.
That's huge exposure, yeah.
Seems like a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And then you can say that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Going
Totally.
forward, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We love giving that to artists. That's something that Firefly definitely lives on, is helping local artists. So.
Okay, so question for you.
Yep.
When you are booking your, actually, I guess it's a two-part question, sort of a two-part, same question, but for both angles. Booking larger acts and booking the smaller, more local acts, what do you look for when you're screening through your submissions? Do you in the bigger and the smaller acts?
Well, we screen through them all and we put them into categories because we are accepting all genres now. So we kind of put them in the singer-songwriter, 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece.
And so you do have like a set number of, okay, we'll take this many singer-songwriters, this many folk bands, this many. Yeah,
and that hasn't totally been decided yet because it's going to come down to set times. Once our set times are decided, that defines how many bands we're going to have. And then I'm probably going to run it singer-songwriters more in the morning, and as you progress through the day, the bands will get bigger, and you'll be ending off with the bigger bands and headliners at the end of the night.
Right.
So it's kind of tricky to say that at this point, but we're going to be looking at that soon.
Right.
Yeah, I want to get everything. I want to get up back to all the artists. We had over 300 submissions this year for Firefly.
Wow.
And this was the first year we ever launched submissions. So
right.
in the prior, people
so
would
it's just kind of word of mouth kind of thing before?
Yeah, it always was before, and then we would reach out to artists we wanted to play or people we knew about.
Okay.
And now it's turned into such a big thing where we're kind of overwhelmed by that. We want people the chance to perform.
Yeah.
So we opened those submissions this year and just overwhelmed by the amount of submissions. So
right.
We're
so do you personally do all the screening?
I personally do all the screening.
Okay.
Jesse Yurtman, one of my good friends and Firefly coordinators, is helping me with that. But there's just a lot of stuff to go through because you're getting full EPKs from every band.
Yes.
And we want to screen them properly to make sure everyone gets a chance. So there's a lot of stuff to go through.
Okay, so I'll break it down. So let's start with the bigger acts.
Yeah.
Is there any specific? Because I mean, yeah, you can separate it into we need to have some of this genre and some of this style.
Yep.
For sure. Is there any, regardless of genre or even specific, that you would really look at? Is there like things specifically you look for when you're booking those bigger acts? Is it like a numbers thing? Is it, I really like this one?
It definitely comes down to numbers. And then, I really like this one because other people like this one, right? We're using those bigger acts forward to help with attendance because they draw the name, right?
Well, yeah, definitely.
But it just really comes down to the dollar when it all comes to the end of a charity festival.
Good. Yeah, okay, fair enough. And the bigger acts are getting a much bigger pay scale probably.
Yeah,
right?
it's not possible. Even with the charity festival, you can ask all you want. You're not going to get a cheap headliner. You still got to pay a normal price. So that's our trickiest part, is finding all of our sponsors and donations to make that happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. And so now same question for the smaller acts, because obviously there's going to be if I had to guess, probably you have to do a bit more hunting when it comes to the headliners, right?
Yes.
They don't come to you as much.
Not much, no.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure you might have a few bookers and managers that are like, "Oh, hey, here's my..."
This year we are quite blown away by the amount of professional scale bands that are actually reaching out to us, touring bands, and not from Alberta. We have bands reaching out from Europe.
And is that something that you guys want, or again with the headliners, are you looking to be a little more local than that?
I like the local Canadian vibe for Firefly.
Right.
So we'll probably always book a Canadian headliner for Firefly because we are working for Thyroid Cancer Canada.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So just trying to keep everything it always was local, but now it's expanded to kind of a more nation thing because there was even talk if Firefly does take off to maybe move it and do a second Firefly in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And do it in the East Coast as well because
Right.
that's where Thyroid Cancer Canada is based out of.
Right.
So
Right.
that's possible.
So then, when you since it's I'm going off in the trails
Yep.
here, but we'll get back to that same question in a second. So I'm just curious with your main sponsor, I mean I guess, or your benefactor, Thyroid Cancer Canada, are they directly involved in the whole process, or do you just is it like you just write them a check at the end kind of thing? Do you like how does that work in that relationship?
They're directly involved with all the planning and everything.
Okay.
It is a little more difficult because we aren't together. They are based in Toronto.
Yeah.
So it's all phone calls and emails.
Right.
So it's mostly a Firefly team in Alberta putting everything together and then chatting with Thyroid Cancer Canada, see if we can change it, make it better at all, and just kind of go from there.
So they kind of, I imagine, since they're a kind of a big organization, they probably have to give you their stamp of approval on whatever promo and
Of
all
course,
that.
yeah.
Because I've run a few small charity events, like not quite that, and definitely nothing that scale.
Yep.
But it blew my mind just how much like back and forth there was to. You can use the logo on this side of this poster versus, you know what I mean? Like
the biggest thing
things.
for me to get used to is it's a board, so you're not just talking to that one person.
Right.
You talk to that person, then you got to wait till their meeting, and they got to talk to the board and make sure everyone agrees on that.
Yeah.
So sometimes it does take a little bit of time to get the acceptance and stuff you need for that kind of stuff.
Man.
Hence why we plan Firefly like a year and a half advance.
Well, and I mean, like that not even just for a festival that is directly involved with a giant charity like that. That's pretty standard for festivals across the board, right?
For sure, yeah.
So it's just like it's crazy to me that you have all of the standard duties that you have to fulfill in booking and running a festival, right? Yep. And then you also have to run everything by a board of directors that probably meets once a month or once every 3 months or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. So you try and get as much information together as you can and hit them all with it at once, and then you kind of get a more than one answer back at a time kind of thing.
Right.
But it's worked pretty good. We've doing this 5-6 years now with them, so
I imagine probably once you have a bit of a relationship with them, it's probably a little easier.
It's came a lot easier, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so back to what I was asking before. So yeah, with the more local, the smaller acts, when you're going through those submissions, what are the things that stand out to you that, oh, I like this one, I'll book this one? Or, I mean, aside from the people you know, obviously, because, you know, it's all about who you know. I'm sure there's a few of those, right? You try to be fair to everybody, but...
Yeah, that was always a hard part with Firefly, because the first few years, it was a lot of the same returning artists.
Sure.
And they kind of always expected to play the Firefly stage.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't want them to. We just want to give the opportunity to others as well.
Yeah, you got to have a break, right?
Yeah, we got to be kind of careful. We're not constantly booking this guy just because we know him. We know he's good. And it's not even that he's good, but that he will play every year. So we got to kind of branch out. So... that's one thing I'm looking at this year, is trying to get a bunch of new artists on the stage this year. Mm-hmm. Someone that's wanted to play but never has before.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're looking at for the smaller artists this year.
Right. Yeah. And so as far as, because I'm sure there's a pool of those that's fairly substantial. Yep. What are the things that stand out to you that go, okay, this one I like, this one I don't like? What are the do's and don'ts of those submissions?
It's really just comes down to the music to me. Like it's something, if I want to hear it, I'm sure other people do too.
Okay.
So if I like the sound of it and I think it could be good, then let's give them a shot.
Right. So what kind of if you want somebody to submit to you, like when you say submissions are open, what do you expect to see in those? Like, what would you like to see as far as the material they send you? Like,
ideally just a basic EPK, because your EPK will have your full biography, links to all your websites, your videos, music, everything I need to know. But a lot of artists, they don't even have an EPK because they're locals, right? So, but they send the basics. They send me links to their music, a biography, where they are, what they're from, why they want to play, and that's a big one we like to see. Not a lot of people send that, is why they want to play the festival. That's a big one, because you get to kind of read their story, and there's been a lot of stories sent this year where they're related to the festival because of thyroid cancer, and you kind of get to hear that story, and it just pulls you right in. So that was kind of cool.
Okay, so you like to see that personal connection
for sure. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Do you have a date firmed up for this year yet?
It's not going to be 2019. The festival is going to be 2020.
Right.
And we're going to September long weekend.
Yeah.
So it's going to be September 4th to 6th, and the pre-party will be on the 3rd.
Right. Yeah. And with an outdoor festival, it's a little more shaky now, because I mean, if you have a little rain in the air and you're in whatever venue you're in, okay, whatever, right? You might lose a bit of turnout, but the event isn't kiboshed, right?
For sure.
So how do you go that far ahead and with the weather? Like,
you're hoping for the best.
yeah, it's
But
just a shot
you
at the
have
dark.
to have a plan B. You have to have a plan B. If something does turn,
Yeah.
we'll have a plan B for a venue. It's our last hope. We don't want to have to go to our plan B venue, but
Right.
we will have a plan B venue if something does
Okay.
happen.
So is it something that you would just scale back?
It would have to be scaled back, yes, because it'd be going indoors. But we'd try and bring it wouldn't scale back in time wise or artist wise.
Mhm.
Probably just production size and stuff because we'll be inside.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Awesome.
But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Firefly 2020 will be a lot of fun for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's another thing that we changed our name this year because we were always the Firefly Acoustic Music Festival.
Right, and that's right. You're no longer
So-
doing exclusively acoustic.
Yeah, so we
stuff.
rebranded this year to the Firefly Music Festival
Right.
just to take out the acoustic, and yeah, we're getting every kind of genre submitting. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a multi-genre festival for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Have you ever? I mean, maybe you haven't needed to at this point. Like I know, a lot of some of the bigger, or especially some of the more genre less specific festivals, they list themselves in things like the indie do it yourself, or like the CD Baby, all those like archive
Yeah,
sites and stuff.
for sure.
Have you done all those? Like, just curious.
Yeah, not a lot of them, but we've started to get more into that this year because we're
Mhm.
starting to look at different ideas to try and get the name out there.
Yeah,
So
but maybe might not even do it for you for this year, but like if you want to like progressively grow into something that's getting more submissions from different places or
we'll
whatever.
definitely be looking into those options because this is the first year we've done submissions too, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll keep building on how we operate our submissions, and
Mhm.
next year I would like to move our submissions to you have to go to our website to
Mhm.
enter your submission because
Mhm.
then it brings you to our website. So we're going to be looking at a lot of different ways to try and plan for the upcoming years for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. So okay, so I know the Firefly Fest is kind of like your it's kind of like your grand baby. It's
yeah,
the thing,
it's
your
the bread and butter that
it's
started
the
everything.
big deal, right?
Yeah.
It's the thing that you really put a lot of time into. It's kind of your big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But I know you also do a lot of booking for bands and artists traveling through the area and things like that. So I'm just curious. I want to ask. I always ask. I try to when I get somebody who does booking and stuff.
Yep.
I try to ask the best and the worst stories,
Yep.
kind of thing. So, what are some of the? Let's start with the good. What are some of the good stories that you've had of bands coming through? What's the most memorable, positive
Ooh.
story you have? I know you book a lot of local stuff when they zip through town and stuff.
Yeah, most memorable. That's a tricky one. There's every show is kind of memorable in its own way
Mm-hmm.
because I book so many different kinds of artists,
Mm-hmm.
and the most I don't know, it's not even memorable, but the kind of the best thing lately is I bring in a lot of artists and then they reach out to me later from a different artist that wants to come through,
Sure.
and it's building the amount of artists we work with so much.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
probably my
I know
favorite
I
part.
personally, I think I've at least referred 2 or 3.
Exactly, right?
So,
like I
yeah.
bring you into play and
Yeah.
then you refer other bands to me, they're referring other bands,
Yeah.
and it's working out really
Yeah, and
well.
you don't just book this stop either. Like you do try
No.
to do like Alberta.
Yeah, we do.
and
We
little
book shows
beyond.
all over Western Canada.
Yeah.
Millet's definitely our kind of our
Well,
baby.
it's the easiest place to-
where we are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But we definitely do book all over Alberta, BC, and stuff.
It's crazy too because I know from experience having done my own tour booking.
Yep.
When you're booking in small centers and stuff, it's kind of a weird thing. There's no like the rest of the music industry seems to have like a set of rules. You
Yep.
know, like there's this guy does this and this guy does that, and you just got to find the people. And in bigger centers, it's easier,
Yep.
right? And even if you're not going to use those people, if you're going to do things on your own, reaching out to the venues that are sort of used to dealing with artists and bookings and stuff. Again, it's kind of like you just follow this guide. Here you
Yeah,
go, right?
for sure.
It's kind of copy paste, right?
Yep.
More or less. But when you're booking in these smaller centers, I've kind of found that it doesn't really follow any kind of pattern.
It doesn't.
And the challenge is that so you'll reach out to these venues and stuff, and they either don't have equipment, they don't own anything, there's nowhere to rent nearby.
Yep.
So you either have to bring everything with you if you want to play there. A lot of them don't want to pay you and they don't want to do door sales. I don't know how that works, but
Yeah, it's every booking's different. Right?
yeah,
It
it's
just-
bananas how
Yeah.
there's no set method. Like that's one thing I've always wondered. We need some sort of something to put everybody's. It's almost like because there's so much information out there for indie artists getting started. This is how you go about booking shows. This is how you go approaching people.
For sure. The way I've kind of seen it though is venues every venue has their own set of way of how they want to book a show.
Mm-hmm.
So that's almost what I've been doing lately. When you reach out to a venue you haven't talked to, you just ask them, how do you usually book shows there? How do you usually run shows? And every venue's different.
Yes.
Some they just want to pay for food and drinks, or some want to give you a guarantee, door deals. Every venue's different. So yeah, that's one of the first questions for sure.
Right, and it's like what I was getting at was, it's really nice in a smaller center, especially because you always need a little stopover, and it seems to be anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, here at least where we have towns that are sometimes 4 hours apart from every major center.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't want to do a 4 hour to another 4 hour with no guaranteed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to do these little stopovers in small towns, and sometimes they're great, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you have really good turnout, especially because there's not, in smaller centers, there's not always a lot going on.
Yeah.
So that on its own is kind of like this will turn out pretty decently,
For
right?
sure, yeah.
But yeah, it's just nice, again, like when you have to make those stopovers in a small town like Millet, when you have somebody who kind of knows the rule book, and can kind of like work with you, and you know what I mean? Like every one of those that you can find, it just makes your booking life infinitely easier.
For sure, yeah.
It's so I just wanted to point that out. Like, it'd be great if every small town had somebody that at least knew the language, at least could communicate the way that bands are taught to communicate,
For sure.
like hook you up and give you somewhere to go, right?
And
like,
I believe there are those people in every little town or city. It's just you got to find them.
There's like impossible to find,
yeah,
right?
It's but I'm sure they're there, right?
It's
just
true.
You got to find them though, and that's the tricky part. But once you have the contact, you'll have it for life.
It's true, yeah.
So
until they die or
until
move
they
on.
move on, yeah.
That's awesome.
For
That's
sure.
awesome. Okay, so nothing specific comes to mind in terms of a really good night, I guess. It's fine if nothing comes to mind. I just always ask because you might get a good story, right?
Really, on the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't really think of.
All right. So now, how about?
Too wild.
And you don't have to name names here, but like, how about like really terrible nights?
There's definitely been some terrible. It usually comes down to the private parties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you get booked to a private party, and it's just supposed to be a birthday party or something.
Sure.
And
people go a little more wild.
Yeah,
right?
it just gets out of hand real quick.
Okay, so when you say, so are you're talking about like somebody says, hey, I want to book live music for a party, we rented out the venue, that kind of deal?
That kind of deal, yeah, and you're basically just hired out for the production or bring in the bands and stuff, and you're kind of sitting there on the side watching the party, and
it's weird because you're not part of the party,
yeah,
right?
It's reckless most of the time. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I've played those shows, like I've definitely, in my infancy when I first started, trying to get into the scene and stuff, and you're looking for any paid gig you can possibly take.
Yeah, exactly.
I've definitely done those, and I've definitely decided never to do those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a reason for that.
They're so odd. They're so awkward, and it seems like they don't really enjoy it that much anyway. Do you know what I mean?
No, you could just put on an iPod and everyone would be just as happy.
If not more.
Yeah.
If not more, because it's almost like, and I almost can't blame them, but it's almost like in those situations they want you to play like hyper specific things. They're like, here, play this song, play this. And if you're like a cover band, then it's like, okay, right?
Not a problem.
Not a problem, but it's almost like they would, just be happier with somebody with an iPod.
For sure.
Flip it.
Because one girl's going to want like rap, and then someone wants country, someone wants rock, and you're playing DJ at that point. So yeah. It's never worth it. No, private parties, those are usually the worst.
Seems like it's never worth it.
No.
Do you do bigger like commercial events and stuff at all?
Definitely do. And I do all the booking and planning and promoting for corporate events, but when it comes to production, I do refer to Prairie Fire events for Tyson.
Yes.
That's everything on our website too. We do small scale production, but anything bigger is referred to Prairie Fire because they're basically a partner company for 387.
Well, Tyson's equipped to handle a lot of stuff,
and I'm going to be working it anyway. So
yeah,
it's nice to have that relationship in Millet.
Yeah.
So
he's just down the road.
Yeah.
He's like right across the street.
I could throw a rock to his house from
you
here.
Sure
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could accidentally stumble drunk into Tyson's house.
I probably have. So.
What other kind of, like, that's a lot of different things. What other kind of stuff do you do?
We do the tour booking, so
Yep.
that's something we've really pushed is tour booking. Like you were saying, it's hard for local artists to figure out how to book tours.
Yes.
So it's something we've always kind of promoted since 387 started was tour booking, event planning and management, anything from weddings, corporate, birthday parties. Like I had a call today to help plan. I don't even really know too much about it, but someone donated some prom dresses, and they're doing some kind of fashion show with it.
Okay.
And I was asked to do production for that and also help promote it and stuff. So just kind of a little bit of everything, and then the wedding small scale production, and yeah.
There's some of those weird shows out there. Hey, like I don't really do commercial production. Like I do the odd time if somebody asks. What I found, I guess, more than anything, is somebody will try to book me for something.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what production means. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big one, actually. Not many people, they get a totally different idea when you say production.
Yeah.
They don't think it's going to be the audio visual.
Well, like I've had
right?
people try to book me for like a small event, like some kind of like a block party or a farmer's market or something like that.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, what exactly do you want? Like, what do you need from me? What do you want me to provide? Right? And they're like, well, you play music. I'm like, okay, so you're going to provide, the PA system. You're going to provide a sound tech. You're going to provide this, and they're like, do we need all that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, if you want, yeah. No one understands the scale of production.
No,
needed,
they
right?
have exactly, and fair enough for a small event. Maybe you don't need a grandiose setup and to do all of those things to that degree.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what I was getting at was occasionally when I get contacted by people or organizations that want to run like a really small event, occasionally I'll book a few other artists and charge it, and I'll run it like that.
Yep.
But I don't do anything to that kind of scale where it's all lights and pyro and here's all the here's a pro sound tech and everything like that. If it's that size, I just farm it out to Dyson. Here you go.
And that's same with us. We've definitely. It just keeps getting bigger, the amount of scale productions we do.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, Prairie Fire is always involved. Even if it's the 387 name on it, Prairie Fire is the one involved helping us make it happen.
They're like your service provider on the ground kind of deal.
We work for each other, so it's a really good relationship.
Is there anything you're planning on expanding into that you don't do yet?
Probably just getting more production gear that we own ourselves. Just getting a larger inventory of production gear and probably start renting it out. That's probably something I'd start looking at.
Yeah.
Because there's like in this area, you want to rent something. Everyone knows Long McQuade, but even for me to run Long McQuade, it's a pain sometimes.
We got to go all the way to the south side of the city.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not that far, but you need something real quick. It's
35 minutes,
right?
Though.
Yeah. So if you need something quick, it sucks. So if we had something in the area here, that'd be great.
Right.
So I would love to kind of offer that to people around here, and that's something we love to do. That's why we do small production events. Is because we're not looking for a big dollar to do this little size production event. You contact a big company to do a little event, and they're going to quote you really high because it's almost more of a pain for them to do that small event.
Yeah, they almost don't want to take it.
Yeah, so they'll quote you really high, and that's something we kind of thrive on around here. That's what we want to do because we have the scale we need for that, and we can make it happen for a lot cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. About the bad story, but you kind of said the private parties.
Yeah, it's private parties, and probably another one is because we're always booking at Leanne's in Millet here, the small town.
Right.
Sometimes you never know what kind of crowd you're going to get.
Right.
And sometimes they don't like the music that's being played.
Right.
And that's happened a couple times now. Yeah. And that's really unfortunate for the artist playing.
Yeah. It's always the same group of people, though.
It's always the same group of people, and that's the thing. It's a small town, right? So
couple of
you walk into your show, you're like, oh, great, they're here tonight.
A couple of troublemakers that are the regulars.
Yeah.
You don't really want to kick them out.
No,
Yeah.
It's a tricky situation. It's unfortunate sometimes when someone doesn't like an artist and they're vocal about it, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a few of those in my life. That's
for sure.
Unfortunate, but it is one of those things too. I think as an artist, you kind of just have to learn to deal with.
Yes, for sure.
You can, not that it should be happening, but it will happen.
Yeah, totally.
And I've, what? Not to badmouth Calgary, but I've had more than my share of those in Calgary.
Yeah, I've had some rough shows in Calgary, actually.
I don't know why. I don't like. Again, I don't mean to badmouth Calgary. Like I have lots of friends that live in Calgary.
Yeah, same here. But I know what you're talking about. Definitely had some
and
bad
even
shows
booking
there.
in Calgary is a little odd, isn't it?
It's been very difficult lately, and it was Edmonton for a while that all the venues were closing down.
Yeah,
we didn't have anything, but
there was always at least one or two that were you could get into
your
and
go-to. Yeah,
they would handle you well.
Calgary seems to that kind of went away lately a little bit. Used to try and book shows in Calgary, and you almost got to kind of pick what venue you wanted because there was 3 or 4 that could take the show.
Yeah.
But now you're almost struggling to find that venue.
There were, you know what? You're right. There were this last year that I can think of. I think there were 2 or 3 that closed down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, I have friends in Calgary that run shows there all the time, and they have no problem. So maybe it's just the next town over thing. You know?
It's their area, right?
Yeah.
They have the contacts.
Yeah, that's true. I have a hard time because like if I'm booking a tour, right, where I'm going to be going from one place to the next, it's really hard to take a show with no guaranteed pay.
For sure.
I mean, and when I say guaranteed pay, I don't necessarily just mean like, okay, here's, $100, $200, $300 or whatever, right?
Yep.
But even to a degree where they don't want to charge at the door.
Yeah.
Like that's if you can get that at the bare minimum, then you can at least usually guarantee yourself gas money.
Yeah, it'll cover your drive there.
Yeah. So, but if you can't even get that, it's pretty hard. Like a lot of these places want to do like a pass the hat donation kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, for local artists, if you just want to go out and play and you'll make a couple bucks, like sometimes you do really good at those shows.
And that's not bad when you're local, right? Because
you don't
you live down the road. But when you're driving 4 hours, and you're losing money to go play that show.
And but I do sympathize with the venues too. I do
for sure,
because from their point of view, you're from out of town. You're a roll of the dice as well.
For sure.
So I do understand them not wanting to shell out and pay you. Like I get it. But it's just hard on the traveling scene. Like if you're into traveling, if you're into touring and doing that whole life, it's really tough.
For sure, yeah.
Like,
big time.
So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just complaining. So, anyway.
Yep.
So you're not planning on getting into like studio stuff at all, hey?
I was more into studio when I was younger.
Because I don't know who it was that brought it up, but somebody had kind of mentioned to me or something that you were looking to do that, or you were starting to do that.
I'm personally not, but like I said, Jesse Ertman, he's basically an employee of 387.
Okay.
He's a studio engineer.
Oh, okay.
So he's going to be opening 387 Productions, and he's going to take care of the studio side of things in town here.
Okay, so they didn't lie to me.
They didn't lie to you.
Okay.
It's just not me personally.
Okay.
It's not that I don't like the studio. It's just not really what I want to do anymore, and that's what Jesse loves. So,
and I feel like you probably
that.
need a degree of time invested into it before you can really start selling it anyway.
For sure, yeah. And the thing about Jesse is his brother. He's owned a studio his whole life, and they live across from each other. Has a studio,
right?
So he's a great sound engineer, and so he will be opening that.
Where does he do that out of?
Just lives outside of Millet here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he'll be around Millet and everything. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So he's doing that right now?
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
387 Productions isn't open.
Yeah.
He's still running under his brother's studio, Earthman.
Okay.
But that'll be happening soon.
I know that name from somewhere.
Earthman Studios, I think, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The name rings a bell. I've obviously never had.
Have you heard of the band Fool's Tongue?
That maybe, yeah, it kind of rings a bell, actually.
Jesse's brother's I guess he kind of plays everything, but he's in that band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a little shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Right
sure.
on. Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have anything coming up that's like aside from because there's the festival coming up for sure.
Yeah.
Any smaller events? Anything more coming up sooner?
Yeah, we just announced a burlesque show actually.
Okay.
Last April we did a burlesque show in Millet, and it was probably the biggest show we've ever done.
Of course it was.
It was a huge success.
Okay,
so,
for those more innocent viewers, a burlesque show is not a strip show.
No, it's not. And every time I announce burlesque, there's 20 comments, strippers.
Yeah.
And it's not strippers.
No, it's if you're going for strippers, it'll be monumentally disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the best events we ever did. So it's coming back January 18th, 2020. We just announced it yesterday, actually. And there'll be 7 dancers and a host. We'll be doing 2 shows each.
So how do you run those typically? Because I mean, that's not too far out of the realm of music. I've actually done shows where they kind of like do like a burlesque thing around it or in between or things like that, like the sets and stuff.
Yep.
Is it like you have a DJ running, or is it like how does that typically?
So it's usually me and Tyson do it together. He'll run sound, I'll do lighting, and it ends with a DJ dance. But we basically just play house music until the dancers start, and all the dancers will go through one show, and then we'll have an intermission, and all the dancers will go again. And during their dances, Tyson will be running their audio, and it's full choreographed lighting shows and everything for this too.
Do they?
So
Do you design that, or is
they
that
design it and they basically send it to us, and
you make sure it's all good?
Make sure
yeah.
it works for us. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But it's a fun show to run,
Mhm.
and it gets wild. We were definitely at capacity in Leanne's last time. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Is there there's ticket sales for that?
Nope, that's still a free event, and that's why it's so busy.
Oh, okay.
But we
yeah.
do bring in bouncers, and it's wristbanded, so it's a big event for Leanne's for sure.
So sorry, if it's a free event, how is it wristbanded?
We check IDs at the door.
Yeah.
And once you get your ID on, you don't have to get ID'd again once you're in the
Oh,
bar.
so okay, so they just ID you, and then if you're
And then you get your wristband.
Okay.
Just because there's so much coming. There's only the one entrance there, so you're coming
Right.
in and out so much. So
Yeah,
then
yeah,
our door guys just have to look for the wristband, and it shows you've been in. They don't got to stop you again, and just makes things a little easier.
And so is that like typically when you're booking those kinds of events? Is it like an agency that runs those like for the dancers?
For the dancers, no. This is actually a friend of a friend that is a burlesque dancer.
Okay.
And she helped us with the last one, and she produces the whole show and basically presents it to us, and we just 387 promotes it, plans it, does all.
So it's kind of a DIY thing almost.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. There's no agencies involved with this. It's actually quite nice.
That is.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever? Is that something that you would consider doing at the festival level, like bringing in?
For sure. And I
Yeah.
think next Firefly is definitely going to have some burlesque dancers.
Okay.
So I think it does add to a show instead of just
Yeah.
the sound guy
it
puts on
breaks
some
it
music.
up, right?
Yeah.
It breaks it up for sure.
So
Like,
we'll definitely do that, I think.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. What else are you looking at adding anything new other than like burlesque and
We definitely want to add a little more of the art side.
Mhm.
So a bit of everything, like have almost like an art walk where you
Mhm.
have local artists displaying their art, and then
was it last year? Did you guys do like a silent auction or something? Or was that a raffle?
we did a raffle.
Right.
We've done quite a few raffles in the past, and that works well because we just get donations from local
Yes.
businesses in town and raffle them off.
Yeah.
That works great for us.
Mhm.
We'll definitely be doing those again, but we do them much closer to the festival
Okay.
because we're over a year, or sorry, under a year away now, but it's still a long ways away.
Yeah.
You give someone a
Yeah.
raffle, they're not going to even remember the festival next year, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
we'll start doing those things a lot closer to really get the energy pumping for it.
So when you do those, you just like you pre-sell that. Is it included with like a ticket sale, or is that?
This year I do want to include it with a ticket sale.
Yeah.
We didn't in the past, but that's something I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be almost. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it would be easier to keep track of almost, eh?
Yeah, and it's
Like you have so many things up in the air.
it is more rewarding for the person that wins the raffle as well too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You figure, oh, okay, I'm buying a ticket. I get to go to this and this and the.
Yeah,
Yeah. I also have an entry into.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
better for both parties for sure.
Is that like? Do you have to be careful with the what are they? Is it the gambling?
Yeah, with raffles, the nice thing of doing with the charity festival,
They kind of
is-
waive that, or
well, they have all that covered as a nonprofit organization.
okay.
So we run under Thyroid Cancer Canada.
Yes.
But
okay.
yes, when you're doing like a private event, when you're doing any kind of silent auctions or raffles, you need to get a gambling license.
Right.
And
So they
It's not hard to
actually do
get.
that then. It's technically not you, even though you're
No.
kind of facilitating things.
yeah, they have all that ready
Okay.
for us. But
Okay.
it's not hard for anybody to get a gambling license either. You
Mhm.
just apply for them on the AGLC website. But there is a process involved, and you got to make sure all your ducks are in a row for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's it, a lot of people don't realize like it's not even just that for gambling and stuff. Like I have had friends that have, in booking their wedding didn't realize they needed a liquor license to
Yeah,
to,
for sure.
like it's they just don't think these things through
Yeah.
ahead of time, or same thing even with raffles or giveaways or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they get slapped
There
with a big
is
fine
lots
or
of
something.
really small events where people have raffles and silent auctions, and they probably don't have a gambling license, but
Mhm.
it's such a small event at a private hall somewhere that I'm not saying you're supposed to do that in any means, but I'm sure it does happen a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's worthwhile getting your license. You don't want to ever get in trouble for not having a liquor license or no gambling license or
No,
something like that.
no,
It's
yeah.
it's not worth it.
The government is no joke.
Yeah, they will get their money.
They will get their money,
Yeah.
and they'll take it out. They'll take it out in blood.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure they will.
Yeah, no
There
matter
is-
what.
It's the only legal mob, right? Legal mafia.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So with the whole festival coming, what point in the process are you at right now?
Getting back to artists and solidifying our lineup.
So
That's-
is it like you're kind of like half confirmed on the lineup then?
Not really, because we still have a lot of submissions to go through.
Okay.
But we're pretty close to being done. I'd say within the next couple weeks, our lineup of locals will be figured out.
When do you announce your lineup?
I haven't picked a date yet, but it'll probably be in the new year because we are still so far out.
So early spring kind of deal?
Our next major announcement will be our venue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
so you've had that locked down.
That's
it's just
locked.
Hush.
It's hush hush right now. So we did the name change, announced the date, and we're going outside 3 days. So next one's going to be the venue, and then after that, we'll start announcing the lineup and sponsors and everything else going on for the festival. Yeah.
You don't find any difficult finding sponsors? Hey, I guess it's a charity event, so.
It's always a challenge.
Yeah.
Like you reach out to thousands of companies.
Really?
And you're going in door to door trying to get sponsors. That works way better. You can send as many emails as you want, but it just looks like spam almost to most people. So.
Do you like? Even charity, I feel like, especially local businesses and stuff, I feel like a few of them would be like, at the very least, when it comes to like the raffle and stuff, like here, take some of whatever, take a thing of meat. It's a butcher shop or something, right?
And that's where those raffles come from, right? You get all those little items and you combine them into a bigger prize.
Yeah. But I would think that would be not that difficult, but
no, it's trying to get the title sponsors, the ones that are really helping you fund this festival.
Right.
Those are the ones that are hard to find.
Yeah.
But that's why you start early, and everyone gets their budgets done.
Do you maintain sponsors year to year typically?
The smaller sponsors, but usually the big sponsors change quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, they probably change in their physical year too, right? Like they have certain dates that they can spend money on, and
it's the whole Firefly. Our main title sponsors has always been economy related, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's been years where it's basically all oil field companies helping fund the festival, and then there's other years where there's hardly any oil field companies.
When there's just no business in.
Exactly. Yeah. So. Yeah, sponsors is a tricky one, and we are currently looking for sponsors. So, anyone listening?
Yeah, if it's right, send Braydon some money.
Yeah, I'll gladly take your money to run a festival.
Write him a check. What kind of stuff? So for the title sponsors, like you're talking about, what kind of stuff? What kind of stuff is provided for them when they?
So we have a full sponsorship package. I don't think I have one printed off here, but we have a full scale. It's basically a table. Depending on the amount you spend, the more you're going to get from us. And if anyone is interested, I could send them a template or something like that if they want to ever build something like that.
Sure.
Or they could look at ours if they do want to give me money. So
there you go.
That'd be great too. But I'd have to look at it to give you an actual. Well, not
I
wouldn't
hold you to it.
It's just the things you get. Like, of course, you're getting tickets. You're going to get multiple tickets for the event.
Things they can give away.
The more you spend, the more tickets you're going to get. And then it's like a title sponsor. They're going to get a name on the top of the poster and stuff. So you're basically buying where your logos go and stuff as well too, and how much promotion you're allowed at the festival, how much we're going to promote your company for helping us.
So that obviously includes like a table or something.
Yeah, and where posters are allowed. Like if you're going to have a poster at the entrance, the beer gardens, the stage, that's all dependent on the amount of money that's donated as well.
Do you do like reads from the stage or anything like that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Our MC will be announcing everything on stage during the event, and then again, the more you spend, the more posts you're going to get on all of our social media accounts and websites prior to the event as well. So,
man, you got it on lock then, eh?
Yeah, it's taken some time trying to figure out how to do the whole sponsorship thing.
Yeah.
But I think we're on the right track now with the table we got, and you're not just giving us money and your name goes at a festival, you are getting stuff from us now. We're making sure you're getting lots of tickets and you're getting lots of stuff from us and free shirts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we really want to help our sponsors, and every year we do send a plaque to our sponsors thanking them for just an appreciation plaque, pretty much.
Yeah.
Everyone does get something from us after it happens.
Yeah.
And you're also helping a great cause, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, because it's not to be like, what do they get, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a charity event, right? And everybody wants to do something nice for somebody that needs a little help, especially if you're sick, right?
For sure, yeah.
But I mean, being a company, right? It's nice to see that there's some give and take in a relationship like that, right?
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, they want people to know that they care too, right?
For sure, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyone interested, we're definitely.
Where can they find you? Do they just hit you up on the website? Or?
Our website's not active right now. It'll be active in the new year.
I guess you're rebuilding.
We're
rebranding
rebranding everything right now, so we will have the website back up in the new year, and that will all be on there. Right now, the easiest way to contact us is info@387entertainment.ca and send us an email. or you can reach out to us on Facebook and stuff too. That's the easiest right now.
Mm-hmm.
Until our website is back up, and everything will just be a click away there. But for getting a hold of us now, Facebook's probably the easiest. That's where most of all of our announcements and everything is pretty quick.
Yeah. Easy to stay in touch that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right on. So yeah, if you have money, if you're Mr. Moneybags, and you feel passionate about helping sick people feel better, especially people with thyroid cancer, then make sure you send Braydon an email, because he can make that dream come true.
It'd be gladly appreciated by us and Thyroid Cancer Canada. So,
right? Do they kick anything in for the sponsors?
Like being a sponsor themselves, you mean?
Yeah.
In the past, they have. They're not compared to sizes of charities in Canada. Thyroid Cancer Canada is not a huge charity,
right?
So they do got to be careful with their amount of spending as well. Mm-hmm. So we want to do as much as we can without spending their money.
Of course, yeah.
Because
but they kind of help you.
They do help us for sure.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, we don't want to spend all their money, because we're just
it depletes the purpose.
Yeah, it defeats the whole purpose. So
for sure,
we're trying to get as many different sponsors as we can to give as much money to thyroid cancer as we can and not take their money for the festival.
Do they also kind of help? How do I word this? Do they help with promotion for the sponsors that are putting up funds for the festival?
For sure, yes. Yeah, and that's really noticed that in 2018 when we booked Doc Walker, because that was our biggest festival to date. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of companies reaching out, like from Toronto and stuff, because they're in that area and they were able to help spread the word.
Really?
So that was pretty cool to see, for sure.
Wow. That was a great... Doc Walker was a good show.
It was a good show. Just could have been at least 500 more people.
Yeah. My guitar player, I think he was friends with one of the guys.
Okay, yeah.
And so he was really excited to see them on the bill.
Yeah.
After we played, he stayed all night just to watch them play.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
They were a good show.
Yeah, that was a great lineup. That was a really good year for Firefly. Every artist on that bill was really good.
Yeah, I gotta say, especially I'm sure this year is going to be bigger and better. Last year, you definitely made all the artists feel really, really VIP.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good to know.
I remember rolling in, and then somebody directed us to where to park, specifically where we could load stuff in, and we had specific parking there, and then we were getting badges,
private backstage access.
Yes,
and that's one thing we've always done too, is every artist gets their lanyard and everything too.
Yeah, and
it does give you that VIP feel.
It's silly because I guess it's not like necessarily practically a huge deal, but it does feel nice.
Yeah,
it feels nice.
Well, that's good to hear. Awesome.
And even down to like the merch table layout and stuff, like positioning and everything was like, I was like, wow, this is really well thought out. Like, I really noticed that, and I know everybody in my group really noticed that, and I especially noticed a lot of the artists coming in.
Yep.
Were kind of like, oh wow, like they, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they just almost weren't expecting what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's something that happens every year because we keep expanding, and every time even returning artists show up, they're like, wow, look at this.
Yeah,
like, this isn't what we expected.
The food was really good too. The food trucks and stuff that you had there.
Yeah,
they were awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to putting a festival together for sure.
Yeah, I think I had I think it was like a Ukrainian food.
Yeah, I had the Ukrainian and had way too much ice cream that night.
Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of trucks there. We had a really good food venue, or food garden, or whatever you want to call it.
It was it was great. I had like pierogies or something.
Oh yeah, there was something for everyone there for sure.
Yeah, there really was. It was really good, and it was not terribly expensive or anything either. It was a lot of fun. There's only one other place I think that I've ever played at where I feel like we got a similar sort of degree of treatment, where we came in and then they're like, okay, yeah, you come over here, and then they give you your badge and load you in and set you up and sound check, and it like where everything felt like it was set up for you to do. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
And especially me as like and I mean, yeah, I don't want to undersell that at all, because a lot of artists who are independent and are doing the do-it-yourself sort of way, you know, we're really used to having to not having to, but when we book these smaller shows, we bring our own PA systems.
Yep.
We load everything in ourselves. We set it all up. We sound check ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Like, so there's no VIP treatment, right? But when you get those kinds of shows like that, it's really nice. Like,
it's funny you say that. I actually was hired for a private event last Saturday. It was for a birthday party, and I booked the band and brought lighting. They actually brought their own PA.
Oh.
But when I got there, I started helping them load in, And I talked to the guy I talked to in the band. The rest of the band had no idea who I was.
Oh, yeah.
And the drummer, he's like, okay, wait a second. Like, who are you? Are you just helping us? Like, he was like blown away. He's like, I'm used to doing this by myself all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something we always want to try and do is give the artists, make them feel important, right? Like they're meant to be there. Everything's planned.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, and like you can liken it to anything. Like, not to sound like a prima donna. Like, oh, I need to have my tepid water in my brown Skittle,
there is lots of artists like that, though.
There are.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And especially, I guess, if you're getting into booking, higher caliber artists, you have like riders and things to worry about.
For sure, yeah.
And that's another story. But yeah, like I especially I make it sort of a point with our group that we all load everything together. We all set up everything together. We pack up everything together.
Yeah.
With the exception, and it's I break my own rule a little bit because sometimes after the show I get swarmed by people.
Yeah.
And then my bandmates end up packing everything up.
Yeah, that happens, right?
And so they know, but it's like one of those things where like, okay, the drummer does not set up his drums and the vocalist does not plug in his vocal mic. We all bring everything in.
Yeah.
And we all set it up, and we all, you know what I mean?
I've been seeing a lot more of that in bands lately, too, where they show up and they're really working together, and they want to get on quick, sound check quick, and just be really professional and efficient.
Yes.
And that's really good to see in an artist.
It is. A lot of people, you're right, it's gotten a lot better now.
Yeah.
But it used to be a real problem a few years ago where people would come in and, like one guy would set up his stuff and the guitarist would start noodling and the drummer's still like trying to like open up his kit.
Drummer's tuning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just a nightmare for, especially like a festival like yours where you have like a tightly scheduled lineup.
Yeah.
And you got people, you got to get them on, and then you got to get them sound checked, and you got to tear off and get the next band up. Like you have a real time frame.
For sure.
And if you are going to be booking, bands that are at a certain level, they're probably going to have contracts that require certain time slots too, right?
For sure, you have to stick to those time slots.
Yeah.
And sometimes that does suck. 'Cause we've had Fireflies in the past where things have gone off time, and then you do have those contracted artists. You have to cut that guy before short. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't just, we'll just push everything 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to be on the ball with that.
And for those people out there that probably don't, there's a reason for those contracts too. Like, I don't blame those bands either, because when you're at a certain level, you're touring, you're on the road, you have to be at these shows at these times. People are expecting to see you. They're paying money.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got to get to the next place. So you're expecting
100%.
to leave at that time, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And if you don't, then you're out sleep, or you're there late.
It's a domino effect for shows too.
100%.
If you're late for that show, you're gonna be late for the next show, and it's just gonna get worse and worse. Yeah.
Unless you're like Kyle Kavanaugh and you book like 3 shows in a week.
Yeah, of course.
Or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Which even he doesn't recommend doing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that podcast.
I did, yes.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, I listened to it.
It's a bananas story, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Well, and for those of you listening that maybe don't know, when Kyle came through, Braydon booked Kyle in Millet here on a stop through. That was the last date of the tour. But yeah, you can't unfortunately have those kinds of things happen when you're on the road and you have a tight schedule.
For sure.
And I mean, it's just inconsiderate to the other artists in general, especially on a festival slot. If you have 45 minutes and a 15-minute changeover, that's all you have.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's a set time. Yeah.
Have you ever had bands try to go over? Like, here's 3 more songs.
Yeah,
and it's like 50 minutes.
Sometimes you do got to get a little more aggressive with them, because you could be the guy. You could jump right on stage and say 1 more, and the whole band could look at you, say okay.
Yeah.
They'll finish that song. We got 2 more for you.
Yeah.
And at that point, you almost, unless you can catch them before, you almost got to let that one song play again. But
right.
You never want to. I've never cut an artist off in between a song yet. It hasn't gotten that bad, but I have gotten up there, and it's like, hey, you're done. And you almost got to physically remove them off the stage because they just want to keep playing.
I had only ever seen that once in my life, until a tour I went on last spring, and there was one artist. I say artist loosely.
Yeah.
there was one artist who was on the tour who wanted to go last every single night.
Yeah.
And because the tour was kind of like a showcase tour.
Yeah.
And so we each got like there was no specific time limit because it kind of cycled around and changed depending on what the event was.
Okay.
But there were a few nights that were fairly strict because of other things that was going on in the venue, right?
Fair.
And yeah, every night he wanted to go last, first of all, which is frustrating because we were all being circled around, right? And then, he always, it wasn't time limited. It was like 3 or 4 songs or whatever. It was kind of loose depending on the night. Some nights we got to play 5 or 6.
Yeah.
It just depended on the venue and what they had going on.
For sure.
And, or if somebody, like one person got sick, so they didn't do their full thing, so one of us got to go longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got cut off 2 nights in a row.
Oh
my goodness.
Just wouldn't stop.
He wouldn't stop, and so like you kind of gave him the like, that's it, last song, right?
Yeah.
And then he'd go again and keep going, and so I seen him get cut off 2 nights in a row, and it was so awkward.
Yeah, that'd be extremely awkward.
And there was no house music.
Oh, that's even worse.
So
yeah,
it was
that would be way worse.
Dead silence, and his face like looking around confused, like, what's going on? Like.
Oh, that'd be really awkward.
Yeah, it was really. Awkward.
It's not too bad if you can bring up the house music and everyone just kind of looks the other way, but.
Yeah, you can kind of like fade it out of your mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that'd be extremely awkward silence.
It was bizarre. Yeah. And then we all had to be in the vehicle with them the next day.
Awkward for everyone for sure.
It was awkward for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I saw that once before too. There was it was some show in the city. There was a band that just wouldn't stop playing, right? Like and I think it might have been Tyson who was running sound. I forget who.
Tyson will cut him off.
Tyson for sure will cut him off. He does not care.
No.
Which fair enough. Like, but it was just pull the faders back.
I've definitely sent Tyson in there to do the cutting off.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He will get it done.
Tyson's he's a beast, man.
Oh yeah.
I've seen him walk up to the stage as the band is setting up, look at the drum kit like he's about to mic it and it doesn't have a sound port.
And he'll cut a hole.
He'll cut a hole in it.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He'll just cut a hole in it.
We had a show a little while back, and I was like, Tyson, there's no hole in this kick. We'll go ask him to cut it. And I went and asked the drummer. He's like, there's no chance you're cutting a hole in my head. And Tyson, well, it's going to sound bad. Oh, well. Yeah.
I've seen him do it.
I've seen him cut many holes.
And from a drummer's perspective, like, well, anybody's perspective, if you're touching their instruments, it's a little like, hey, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
But you should have a sound port.
Yeah, you should. If you're playing live shows where you need to be mic'd, definitely.
You should have a sound port.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of that, and I've seen the one time he cut somebody off, and it was a little. I don't think they said anything because they knew they kind of went over.
Okay, yeah.
But it was like, it's always so weird.
Yeah,
like
it's just awkward. Yeah.
You can tell they're mad, but nobody.
They're not going to say anything.
Nobody wants to say anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, okay, I got another question for you.
Okay.
Are there any out of all the? Do you have any favorites? I guess.
And like artist wise?
Yeah, like because again, you see a lot of groups come through here, and I know you've booked stuff for bands, kind of across Western Canada and stuff. Are there any that like not that there some bands that you booked aren't good, but like you personally just like, oh, I really like so and so or this group?
There's actually quite a few.
Okay, well, give me a couple.
But one that really stands out is 2016 Firefly. We had some artists that didn't show up, and it ended up changing our lineup schedule, and everything was off time about 15 minutes. And a girl that was supposed to play earlier in the night ended up showing up last, and we wanted to let her play, so she ended up being the headliner. And her name's Abby Kay.
I know her.
Heard of her.
Yeah.
She was 15 at the time, and she headlined Firefly, and I bet you she got 4 or 5 encores. Everyone just loved her, and to this day, she's come back for every Millet event. She'll come play any little event, and I just had her play Leanne's for the first time, and it was a great show.
She's probably just 18, eh?
Just 18, that's
there
why.
You go, yeah.
Just played Leanne's, and it was just, she puts on a great show. She came with a band this time, and that's one that we just always love to see. Another one, Brandon Hart, friend of mine out of Vancouver.
Yeah, I know Brandon.
He's a blast to have coming through.
He's an interesting guy.
Oh, great dude.
Like very, very teddy bear.
Oh yeah.
He wants to hug everyone all the time.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah, and
heart of gold.
And he's got this like goofy high energy stage show.
Always.
But he makes it's funny because it's not like a stadium show,
Yep.
but he plays it like it is.
Totally.
And like I saw him do it in an empty room.
Yep.
And so that was like oh, okay, you know. But you got to give him props for like committing to the energy.
Yeah, he has. He always will too. And I've been to a few Deader shows with Brandon, just how it happens.
It happens,
right?
yeah.
And the energy is the exact same. He just puts on a really good live show. Yeah, he's really fun to have.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. He's a really nice dude. And I really like a couple of his songs. Like I keep a couple of his songs in my favorite Spotify playlist.
Yeah, every time I show someone Brandon Hart, it's like, wow, I haven't heard of this guy.
Yeah.
So just waiting for him to hopefully take off one day for sure.
Yeah. My brother loves him. Loves his stuff. He's really into like the that NF sort of like rap. I don't know what
it's such a hard genre to kind of, I don't know. I always thought Brandon Hart would be really good playing with USS.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's just like that really fun, upbeat music, but it has meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tricky band or artist to book openers for, or anyone playing with him, because it's nothing matches it, right? He has a unique style.
Yeah, and he doesn't do any real live instrument stuff either, right?
No.
So that like with that being part of his show,
I believe the plan is to start playing with the band though.
Oh, okay.
And that would be just amazing.
Well, that'd be a lot easier to book with then.
Yeah.
Like even if the music doesn't sound any different at all.
Yep.
It would just visually like look like it goes together more.
For sure.
So for sure, I could totally see that.
I think the only reason that hasn't happened is because we are in Millet, and the cost for him to bring a full band out here isn't worthwhile for a show or two.
Yeah, 100%.
But I was talking to him, and I think there is plans to do a full Canadian tour here soon.
That's cool.
So hopefully that will be with the band, and that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I'd go to that show for sure. Yeah, that he did put on a great show. He did for sure. And yeah, super nice dude. I would for sure see him again. I think when he did that, he did like across the states and stuff too, eh?
Yeah, he tours with Tom McDonald, huge artist. Best friends. They've been best friends for years.
Really?
And yeah, he's part of the Hangover gang, Tom's brand, and Tom's girlfriend, I don't think they're married, girlfriend Nova. They all tour together, and he's done many tours in the States this year.
That's cool.
Yeah. States
is tough to get into, not necessarily booking wise.
Yeah.
But it's just the cost of going to the States is a hard one to eat.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, because you gotta get that visa.
And then our Canadian dollar, right?
Yeah.
That's really tough for Canadian artists to go down there.
Yeah. Well, that's 100% true. Like, whatever you need to save up for your retainer for on the road, you need an extra 30%.
And then it's the same backwards too. When you're booking U.S. artists in Canada, they want a U.S. charge. They want the U.S. rate, right?
Oh,
if you're paying them Canadian, they're not making.
They're losing 30%. Yeah.
So they always want to get paid in U.S.
Yeah.
So that's why it's harder to bring in a lot of more international artists too.
Huh. Well, and I'm not sure what is required, like legally wise, as far as getting the visa and what that looks like, as far as what they can make and how they have to claim it or what that looks like.
I'm not totally sure how that all works either, but I'm sure there's different size visas. Almost, right? Like you're allowed to this amount of time, this amount of money, and it kind of goes in probably classes, I'm guessing. But I'm totally not sure.
Well, I know even from talking to Kyle and a couple other people that have booked in the States, it's pretty like I think you need like over it's a little over $1,000 for your visa
to get the visa.
Yeah, and you also that's just the cost of the visa. And then you also have to, in order to get to that point where you can do that, you have to join the union, right?
Yep.
So there's a cost there, which is not astronomical. Like, let's be real, it's affordable.
Yeah.
But it's just like the fact.
It's another step to take.
Yeah, it's kind of it would be confusing to somebody who didn't, who'd never been that way before.
For sure, yeah.
Like I'm kind of looking like I'd like to go. I have an option. I have the option this spring to do a week or 2 weeks in the States on my tour, but like I'd love to. It's just the cost wise is, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money to put up.
That's a lot of monny.
And
if our dollar was closer, it would be so much easier.
And then the cost of eating and living like that's a tough one.
Yeah,
it's really tough.
Yeah,
but I know a couple people that have done it and they say it's doable. I feel like. I mean, it could be, too, that the whole atmosphere there is different, right?
For sure.
Like, you could have, I don't know what the scene is like there. Like, it's, who knows, right? Like, it's like, you could go to somewhere in the East and you just have every music event that runs out there, every show is
I
sold
think
out. Who
one
knows,
of
right?
the bigger things as a local artist touring into, say, the States, a different country, you can't go in like vacation mode. You just want to buy all these things. You got to live like your business, and you don't have any money right now.
Oh yeah,
right. And that's because I've had so many stories. People come back from even just a small short leg of a U.S. tour, and they just lived party mode, vacation mode the whole time, and they lost so much money.
That's true. That's a good point. And you can do it in such. It depends on what your plan is, right?
Exactly.
Like I've done it in such a way where I've booked sort of like a working vacation intentionally.
Yep.
And that's totally fine.
Yep.
But if you're going to do it that way, you have to plan it that way.
Exactly.
And expect that to be like I did. Was that no? It was. I think it was 2 years ago. I think I did like 3 days in BC, and I took my girlfriend, and we kind of did like three show dates, and then we took a couple extra days.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we stayed in like a nice hotel, but if I was like touring seriously, like that was a vacation where I could also play a couple shows.
For sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If I was planning to play like actual shows, I would have been sleeping in my car.
For sure. Right.
For
yeah.
sure.
How can I save any dollar you can?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know, like. Kyle's stories kind of turned me off of the States just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody there, like it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to take that step.
For sure.
But I don't know. Across Canada, I 100%. I think that's probably going to happen this spring.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's just takes time to
for sure
get the funds together and stuff.
Yeah, and then booking it all and making it happen, right?
Yeah.
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 There's a lot of work involved.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you how many different venues do you book in the city? Is there
many, yeah.
Do you have a limit to like how far, like let's say I'm an artist and I come to you and I'm like, "Hey, I want to book a Canada tour."
Yep.
Do you do that? Like
I totally. And first thing I'll ask you is what cities do you have in mind?
Yeah.
Because some artists, Canadian tour to them, they just want to do a little bit of BC, maybe go to Regina, but mostly in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
Some they do want to hit every province, but they only want to hit the big cities.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's first thing I ask is what cities you're looking at, and then I'll tell them the cities I have booked in before. And then it's not that it's a problem I haven't booked in that city before. It's just like I said,
you never know what
I don't have the
how
contacts
good it'll
yet.
be. Yeah.
So there's a lot more work involved with that and trying to figure out how to make it work.
And it could be hit or miss depending on the city.
And that's one thing you always got to tell them. Like, we'll do everything we can, but it's just like you can reach out to 1,000 venues. Doesn't mean 1,000 venues are going to reply.
Exactly.
So yeah, we can definitely book a cross Canada tour, and we've had the cities we booked in before, and then. But it's also good on our end too if you have someone that wants to book in a city you never have. That gets us the contacts.
Yeah,
too,
then
right?
it gives you a chance to develop the contacts with an artist.
For sure. So it's beneficial for both parties.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in going further east, what kind of time frame does that run? Like, because a lot of people they want to book a tour. Like, I'll book a tour next month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's local shows. That's not a problem. I don't like booking anything less than 2 months in advance, locally even, because then it gives you a month to get everything together, and I want at least a month to promote and get the word out there. And then when you get into like a Canadian tour, that does take months to plan.
Yes,
it does, right? So if someone reaches out, I have had artists call me. I want to go all the way to New Brunswick
tomorrow,
pretty much. Like tour starts in a week, and I want to do 50 venues.
Yeah,
and it's not possible to make that happen in that short amount of time. And as soon as you kind of tell them that, half the time they don't even reply.
Yeah,
because they never realized or thought of the aspects of making that happen.
Yeah,
but if you're given the right amount of time, it's definitely doable. And the more time you give, the better.
Yeah,
like, it does take months.
One thing I noticed with you specifically, having done shows with you and having pointed people in your direction is that you have a really good work ethic when it comes to this sort of stuff. Because I've also dealt with a lot of people where it's like you try to get something done and you can't get a hold of them.
Yeah,
right. And
that's a huge thing. You need to be able to get a hold of somebody. That's
yeah.
That's something we've always answered the phone 24 hours a day. We'll always answer the phone.
Yeah,
and that's not like a lot of companies.
Yeah. For sure. Like and so. Sometimes, and I understand having done the tour booking somewhat myself. I definitely understand that there's going to be like there's always periods. A lot of people don't realize either. Is it's not just like you go book a tour. You send emails and call people or whatever method of contact you prefer to use for different venues.
Yep.
If you send an email, it could be a week before that venue even replies to you.
Totally, yeah.
Right, and so you'll send out 100 emails and you'll get maybe 10 back, right?
Yep.
And then out of those 10, how many are applicable? How many have a deal for your artist that's going to work for them.
Yep.
On and on and on. So there is going to be periods of waiting, but like that, I guess what I'm saying is the thing that I've always appreciated about you is I always know that you're sending those emails.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
You're making those calls.
Yeah.
And I think that there's more than a few bookers out there that aren't worth their salt.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of people say that actually, because I'll be trying to book a show for someone and they won't hear from me for like 2 weeks, and they'll just think I've went on, and then I'll send them a message.
Yeah.
I've tried hundreds of places. Like, I haven't stopped, and they're like, "Oh wow, you're still working on this."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I am, because I want to make this work, right?
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to make it work just as much as you do.
What do you do for like rates? How do because I understand, like, obviously if it's a local show and you're gonna run it, there's percentages and stuff worked into that.
It comes down to the venue. Like at Leanne's, I supply all my own production.
Yes.
So the bar pays for my production.
Yeah.
And then they pay for the artist as well.
Yes.
And then there's venues where you work on the door deal.
So like, let's say hypothetically, like, again, somebody wants to book like a Canadian tour or something like that.
Yep.
Venues, obviously, were shows that you're not necessarily personally there running them.
Yep.
How do you do that? Do you do like percentages kinds of things? Or like what?
It depends on how they want to run the show. If it's run on door deals, I always do percentages, because they're running on a percentage as well.
Is that standard hat you find?
I find so, yeah. And then when it comes to guarantees, you almost get a guarantee for the booking promotion as well.
Right.
Like it's almost a set rate.
So you just build that into the cost.
And the cost comes down on the more shows that you want to book and stuff like that. Like one show is going to cost you more than 5 shows. Not as per one show, I mean, right? Like, say you pay me $50 to book this show, but you book 5 shows, you're only going to be paying like 40.
Yeah.
Right. So the cost is going to get less the more shows you want to book.
Right.
So it's more work for me, but you're saving money.
Right.
And we kind of run deals like that, but it's totally different. I kind of work with artists and on their budget, because we are a smaller company and we work with a lot of smaller artists.
Yeah, and if you're still developing like a degree of contacts and stuff like that.
So we really work with the artists and what they can afford, and what they can afford is what scale we can provide. So yeah. Well,
sincerely, I really do recommend, if you're looking to book tours, especially in Western Canada, but if you're looking for somebody to work with that is, affordable and willing to work with you and stuff, I really do recommend a lot of artists come to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that
for sure. And yeah, to people that have never toured before, just like I know personally, Braydon does do the work, so. You don't have to pester him every other day.
Yeah,
but
yeah, because you can. Yeah.
There are periods of time where you have to wait for people to reply to your emails or not reply to
for
them
sure,
or whatever. So, but yeah, no, I definitely and it blows my mind. I guess is kind of what I'm getting to. Like your work ethic, first of all, like the way that you do stuff is somewhat impressive on its own, right?
Thank you.
And then, well, you're welcome. And then second of all, I guess the amount of work that I know that goes into the festival, and especially your festival with the charity aspects like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
And the fact that you still, on top of all of that, manage to handle and take on smaller local shows.
Yep.
And then treat them with the same amount of attention that you do.
We're at the point now where it's 2 or 3 shows a week almost now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I know, like
it's
I see
busy.
the Facebook posts.
I haven't had a weekend off and I can't remember how long.
Yeah.
Like weekends, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every weekend. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Do you find it, I don't mean this to be too nosy, but do you find it relatively profitable as far as the business goes?
For sure. Yeah. It's
like
definitely it's definitely taken time.
Okay.
Yeah. It just keeps getting better because I'm building those contacts and how I want to run things, running things better for everyone. So I'm getting better contacts, and it's slowly building itself, and it's turning out really great.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if it's not profitable for you, at least to some degree, then it's just a labor of love.
Yeah,
which
totally.
is not necessarily terrible, but if it's not profitable for you, it's not going to be exponentially great for everybody, right?
For sure, yeah.
So
we
good
do
to hear.
sponsor a lot of events, like a lot of local events. We don't charge anything, and we donate our time. But that works out because we've had in the past we've donated our time for something, and then this year they contact us. We've budgeted to pay you for this year because you've donated your time the past few years.
Right.
So it just keeps building better and better.
Well, that's good to hear, because that can also be a two-edged sword, right?
Totally, yeah.
Like if you give something to somebody for free, which you're perfectly well within your rights to do, then it's almost like when they see a price tag, they're like, whoa.
Yeah,
like,
totally, yeah.
Yeah, I've had that before, where you do somebody a favor, you try to help them out, And then, come the next year around, they want to book something, and you're like, okay, well, we're going to have to write it in this year because we can't afford it. We have to make money, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, no problem. You hand them the bill, and they're like, their eyes go wide. And
they're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, they have no idea because you gave them that for free last time. I was kind of always wondering how to deal with that. And then I think I was talking to my dad at one point. He's run a business forever, right?
Yeah.
He told me the best way to do it is so if you want to donate some time or your service or whatever, great, do that. But then write them up an invoice with the discount of whatever it is and give it to them so they understand what the cost of what you gave them was.
And I have done that lots too.
It almost seems necessary now. Like I do that now because you don't want people expecting that, okay, well, I only charged you $100 last time because I was trying to help you out and you were in a pinch and you're my friend, right? But then you can't be giving that service away to everybody.
Totally, and that's a tricky one for sure. Yeah, especially in the smaller town where most of your contacts are friends or someone you've known a long time, right?
Or somebody who lives across the
road, the street,
right?
Like totally,
yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that like things are coming together.
Yeah, really happy this year,
and that it's looking that way. Like, I know, especially it's a charity event and stuff. I'm glad it's something you're passionate about, but I don't like. It always hurts a little bit when you hear that somebody works on something like that and then they lose. And I know. Yes, it's a charity event. You succeeded in the goal of raising money and stuff like that. But I also did hear some things about how you took some personal hits with the years past, and
big time.
And that's not a good thing because I mean we as a community, as musicians and stuff, we definitely want to support, and we don't want anybody to be losing money because then we lose the people that are running these things.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to hear that you're looking like it's looking good and that things are coming together. You're getting good groups coming to you. It looks like sponsors are starting to come and all that sort of stuff. I'm really glad to hear that, and I really hope that you don't have to stake so much on this. Like
I'm hoping so too.
Yeah,
I know there was some rough years for sure.
Yeah. I mean not even just you. I know more than a few people that have run bigger events. Some festivals and some just big events that have done the same thing, and they not even charity, but just in general.
Yeah.
And it ends up sinking them, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's just bad for the community all around.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it hurts. You put months and months of preparation into something, all your money, and just lose it all.
And we wonder why venues disappear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So.
It takes a lot of work, and it's this year's been really good. I'm happy with how everything's going this year. So I'm excited to see where 3 at 7 will be this time next year.
Yeah, for sure.
Just the progress in the last year has blown my mind. So pretty excited to see the future.
Are you almost to the point where you would because this has been something that I've been struggling in my, I'd say, last couple weeks or so. Every and I think it relates the same way to somebody who's a business owner or whatever you're involved in the music scene or the art scene, whatever your passion is, right?
Yeah.
For the last couple weeks, I've been kind of like, I've always wanted to do like a full-time thing, right? Yeah. And just put myself into music and stuff like that. And I remember scrolling through my emails in the last couple of weeks, and I was reading this email from this one newsletter I subscribed to. I don't remember what it was, but it was all about how being a full-time artist is like way overrated.
Okay.
And how if that's what you want to do and it is the thing that you love doing and you're doing it and it's working, like, then great. But so many artists get stuck on this. All I want to do is music, and they totally neglect the other things in their life that they enjoy.
Yeah.
And so they end up putting a bunch of themselves into their music, and when it doesn't work out, like, they can't sustain themselves that way for the long haul, and they end up having to quit because they just don't have the juice, right?
Totally,
for that. So it was talking about how it's okay to have a side hustle that you really love doing, but it's not necessarily always your full-time thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm kind of like battling with that. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I don't necessarily need to do this all the time. There's other things that I like doing too, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay for it to just be a side hustle, right?
And I'm in the same boat too, because I'm a heavy-duty mechanic, and that's what I do during the day, but every night and weekends I'm working 3-8-7.
Right.
So in the future I do want to go full-time with my company. But
okay.
That's going to take time because I don't want to. I do enjoy being a mechanic as well. So it's not that I hate my job and I can't wait to do this full time.
Well, and a trade's a little different because when you have a ticket or an apprenticeship or whatever, like you can kind of always go back to that.
For
right?
sure. And so I don't want to just kind of push it away. I'm kind of letting it flow naturally to the point where 387 comes to the point where it's so much like I can just quit my job and it's not going to.
Sure.
It's just going to be almost a natural switch.
So, but would you say that's kind of like a goal that you're like
for sure
ultimately working towards?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I know. I was kind of curious because like I know it's something that like I think a lot of artists put like it's overrated. Like a lot of artists put too much.
For sure.
You know, and it sinks them. It sinks them
and that's
early.
easy to do is put too much into it, right?
Yeah.
It's something you love and you're hoping and you hope so for so long and so much and it just doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people ultimately burn out.
Yeah, that's a huge part too.
Yeah. So and it's unfortunate because had you kind of found the balance that works for you, you might have either made it to the point where you can make the decision and then you have all the information to make it.
Yep.
Whether okay, I want to do this full time or I don't or whatever.
Yep.
Or you could decide, no, I like doing the thing that I'm doing over here. I like my job and I like this and this. And I like writing and recording and releasing music and then taking time off and doing this or whatever, right?
Yep.
And then longevity-wise, we would have a lot more music from more developed artists, that enjoy what they're doing and they're just happier, right? Like
for sure, yep.
And those they wouldn't be out of the scene anymore. Because I know a lot of people that were in the scene when I started. That happened to them. They burnt out waiting for their
waiting for the day,
waiting for their break, right?
Yeah.
They just didn't have it in them anymore.
Yeah, that happens lots for sure.
Yeah. So I hope things are going good for you for this festival. I really hope it's a turnout like you're hoping for, and I'm glad to hear that it's looking that way. Like I said, nobody wants to see you or any event planner or festival booker fail. Like that's just not good for anybody.
No, agreed.
So, yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming on the podcast and chatting with us and letting us know what you guys look for when you're booking, especially. I know that's a big thing for a lot of artists.
For sure, yeah. Hopefully that's some insight for some people.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of information there that they can glean. And,
nice.
Yeah,
perfect.
Everybody, make sure you check out Firefly Festival. Do you have any other plugs? Like, so I know you have the Facebook page, like the 387 Facebook page.
Yeah, 387. We also have our website, www.387entertainment.ca.
Yep.
That's where everything up to date 387 is.
Yep.
The Firefly will be fireflymusicfestival.ca. That'll be up hopefully January 1st. But stay on our social medias to find out the exact date that's live. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it for socials.
You personally, do you have anything you want to?
No, just 387 really.
Sure.
Yeah, 387 Facebook.
People can find you there.
The big thing, yeah. If you need me, go on 387.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, Braydon, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
It's great talking with you.
For sure.